This is the tyre plugger kit for tubeless tyre repairs. I bought it to carry around on my motorbike when doing European tours. I haven't used it, it's been rattling around in the top box for about the last 3 years. Last week I was in Europe and managed to get a screw in my rear tyre. So I put it to use for the first time and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. So just a quick walkthrough. It comes with a gun for installing the mushroom plugs, a nozzle which goes through the tyre to allow those plugs into the hole, a small rasp tool for cleaning out and opening the hole to the correct size, this pointed tool which the nozzle screws onto to allow you to pass it through the hole in the tyre. It comes with a pack of about 30 rubber mushroom bungs which are covered in some kind of silicone lubricant, and a small fold up knife blade for cutting off the excess material. What I'll do is I'll take you through actually using this kit on a puncture on the tyre that I'm due to replace anyway. On my Triumph Explorer, this is the tyre that I repaired last week while I was in Europe with this tyre plugger kit. The tyre obviously now has a puncture which has been repaired and is getting pretty close to the limit and it's pretty squared off, so I'm not going to make any attempt to have this repaired professionally. I'm simply just going to replace it. Hence today I'm actually going to deliberately put a puncture in this tyre with a drill, just so I can demonstrate how the tyre plugger system works. Simply choose a spot on the tyre, say about there would look okay, and I'm just going to drill a small hole into the tyre. So as you can hear, all the air's rushing out. The tyre plugger that I'd used previously had held the tyre up, so we now have a hole in the tyre and the tyre has deflated. Use the rasping tool, which is this roughened pointed tool that comes in a kit. Simply put it into the hole and then wheel it backwards and forwards a couple of times and you have a nice clean hole. Now you need to do this because if you'd got a nail in there, it may have gone through at a slight angle and you need to have a nice clean path for the mushroom to pass through. Obviously in this case it's going to be a nice straight hole because we drilled it deliberately. To take this nozzle and the pointed insertion tool, and you will see that the nozzle fits over this tool. You just wind it on, no need to do it up tight. And then what we're going to do is we are going to work this into the hole until the nozzle part has penetrated the tyre. We can then unscrew the pointed tool, which is purely used to locate it, and we can discard. And we now have the nozzle tool firmly inserted in the tyre. Comes with the kit. It's a small piston inside a tube that you work forwards with the trigger. When it comes in the kit, it's in a folded position, so we need to take that out so that we are then able to pump it forward, as you can see, and that pushes the mushroom through. So we take it into that position. It's one of the mushrooms, rubber mushrooms, that comes with the repair kit. As you can see, it's about 6 or 8 mil across the shank, and the head is significantly bigger, maybe 14 mil. We need to insert this into the tool. We just pop it in like that, push the centre in until it actually goes into the tool, like so. As you can see, that mushroom is now firmly inside the gun and will allow us to be able to push it through the tyre. Take the gun in its state with the mushroom installed, and we need to screw it onto the insertion tool, that's the nozzle that's in the tyre. As you can see, just screw it in, doesn't need to be super tight. A couple of turns, we can now see the nozzle is turning, so that is fully bedded down. We now have to squeeze the trigger about 4 or 5 times, and as you can see, that's now bottomed out. So what's happened is that the piston has pushed that mushroom through the nozzle and the mushroom head is inside the tyre. So if I now pull the nozzle out from the tyre, which is still attached to the gun, it takes a little bit of pulling because obviously the rubber bung is inside it, and there you can see that the mushroom plug is now firmly in the tyre and the excess is sticking out. So what I'm going to do is just going to quickly inflate this tyre. I've got a compressor in my garage, so it'll take a couple of seconds, but when I was at the roadside I had a small 12 volt compressor which worked perfectly. It's a little bit slow, took about 10 minutes to inflate to full pressure, but worked as it should. So I've inflated the tyre to 42 psi, which is the correct pressure for this tyre, and we now have this excess sticking through the tyre. That is firmly bedded in. As you can see, you cannot pull it through. In fact, you can hardly get a grip on it. But what you need to do is remove the excess. You can't ride in this state. The kit comes with this little fold-up knife, which you just simply trim off the excess flush. Don't pull the bung while you're doing this, or you will end up stretching out more material and it will end up lower than the tread. There we go. That is the state you're left with. Just a small rubber bung sticking through the tyre. I can't tell you how long it's safe to ride on these. I can't tell you how fast you should ride on these. I don't know if Tyre plugger themselves give a recommendation. I repaired this tyre initially while I was in France. I then travelled all afternoon, checked it the following morning. It had lost about 3 pounds in pressure, but that may have been the temperature difference between the time I inflated it and the time I checked it. I then rode home, finished my trip, rode home back to the UK. The bike had travelled at speeds of about 80-85 miles an hour, and I had travelled about 320 miles with the original plug-in. When I checked the pressure a few days later in my garage, it hadn't lost any further air. So that was a semi-permanent repair as far as I was concerned. Obviously you need to make a judgment on your tyre. If it's very, very low on tread and due to be replaced anyway, it may not give an adequate repair. But if it's a nearly new tyre, this would get you to somewhere safe where you could either have it professionally repaired or even replaced, which is what I'm going to do. It does seem a little odd to have deliberately punctured a tyre, but this is squared off, just about knackered, and already has a bung in it. So there you can see, it is that simple. The whole job on the roadside, including me using it for the first time ever and having to read the instructions a couple of times, was less than 15 minutes. From stopping, getting the kit out, putting the bung in, inflating the tyre, and riding off. No inconvenience at all. I did put a little bit of gaffer tape that I had with me on the rim so that I could mark the location of the bung, and every time I stopped for petrol or coffee I periodically checked it to make sure that it was still in place, and I had absolutely no concerns at all. In fact, it completely left my mind on the journey home that I'd repaired the tyre. I hope this is useful. I'm not associated with Tyre plugger in any way, shape or form. I understand they do a motorcycle kit which comes with a slightly different gun, which is more compact and wound in with an Allen key. I bought this kit because it can also be used on car tyres. I hope you found this useful. Thank you.